That's George on the cover of this book. This is the first time George has been on the cover of a Nancy Drew Files book. It seems unfair that Ned and Bess have been on multiple covers, but George has to wait until book 83 to make her cover debut.
Argo Funk Book Review, Argo Funk Book Review.
Bess is on vacation in Carmel, California. She extends her trip by several weeks for a secret reason. Nancy and George are not surprised to learn the secret reason is named Ted. On the way to Ted's restaurant, George stops when she sees a pair of earrings that she wants. She jokes that there's always time to buy new jewelry. The jewelry store is the site of today's mystery. Introvert Marcia Cheong designed the new diamond necklace for aging movie star Joanna Burton. The necklace was appraised by Marcia's former boss, Cy Baxter. Baxter claims the diamonds were replaced with fakes. He gets into a fight with Marcia's fiancé, landscaper Len Olson. Their fight's so big, Nancy almost gets trampled. I think the true tragedy here is that George doesn't get her earrings. Speaking of angry dudes, Bess's boyfriend Ted is half nice when Bess is around, but he always scowls at Nancy and George. He thinks they distract Bess. He argues that Bess should not spend so much time with the friends who came halfway across the country to see her. Maybe Ted is jealous because he doesn't have any friends. Bess says she's thinking of moving here permanently. Thanks to her cooking classes in Book 21, she got a full-time job as a dessert chef. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, but customers kept asking for her food by name. If Bess is that good at being a pastry chef, she should do it legitimately. She doesn't have a real job back home, right? Cy has a nervous assistant named Rachel, and several cuckoo clocks, because nothing says serious jewelry store like a cuckoo clock wall. Cy says Joanna's a bad client who is behind on her bills. He had the necklace to himself for a day. Len also had the necklace to himself for a bit, the day Joanna came to pick it up. Nancy meets the jewelry store's security guard, Morgan Fowler. She gets a threatening note with a broken cuckoo clock, because nothing says serious danger like a cuckoo clock message. Nancy makes an appointment to meet Joanna Burton at her house. I am insulted on Nancy's behalf when a man at the gate forces her to pay a tourist fee. Nancy isn't a tourist. She has official business here. A speeding truck almost runs Nancy and George off a cliff. Nancy feels uneasy when Joanna doesn't answer the intercom, and Joanna's little dog seems terrified. Morgan comes to check things out, along with Joanna's agent, Stephanie Cook. Everyone searches the house. George sees cute otters on the beach. She and Nancy go for a closer look. As the cover shows, they find Joanna's dead body lying at the base of the stairs. Aw, but the cute sea otters aren't in the cover. Aw, otters. Joanna died holding a charm bracelet. Stephanie's quick to point out that Marcia wears a similar bracelet. This is a gated community. It should be easy for Nancy or the police to get a list of everyone who was here this morning. I'm pretty sure they don't check the visitor's log, so there can be dramatic cliffhangers. In one cliffhanger, we learn Len was at the house next door. His truck is the one that almost ran Nancy over. In another cliffhanger, we learn Marcia was there, spying on Len. So basically everybody was there at the murder scene around the time of the murder. Marcia looks guilty when her charm bracelet's missing. She refuses to say where she was that morning. Nancy sees Len furtively handing cash to Rachel. Rachel says the payment has something to do with Marcia's charm. Nancy and George leave a message for Bess, but Ted doesn't bother passing it on to her. Bess is kind of irritated. Stephanie says she's inspired by Nancy's detective stories. She wants to turn them into a series of mystery movies. A Nancy Drew movie? As if. Nancy is surprisingly hostile to the movie idea. She thinks it would take too long, and it would distract her from her detective work. No, Nancy, Stephanie doesn't want you to be in the movies. She just wants to base movies on you. It's totally different. Bess's relationship drama continues through the whole book, as Ted tries to keep her away from Nancy and George. For example, he accidentally ruins the desserts, forcing Bess to cancel her plans and come into work on her day off. If I didn't know any better, I'd say Ted sabotages the investigation more than the culprit does. Nancy gets an anonymous phone call telling her to visit the beach by herself. It's a trap. The culprit tries dropping a rock on her head. Nancy dodges in time, but her leg is injured. She spends the night in her hotel room watching one of Joanna's old movies. It's a mystery movie called Diamond Deceit. The publishers must have liked that movie title so much they named the book after it. In Joanna's movie, a thief hides diamonds inside ice cubes. Nancy realizes today's culprit is copying the movie, meaning the missing diamonds are inside Joanna's freezer. This diamond movie was not mentioned earlier in the book. I find it hard to believe everyone recognizes Joanna as a famous movie star, but nobody mentions she was in a diamond theft movie, which perfectly matches the current mystery. For a more realistic take on this premise, I would recommend my book, Stay-at-Home Detective 2, Harm for the Holidays. Our hero Ned suspects the culprit is copying crimes from a Hardy Boys book. It's pretty hilarious. Nancy realizes Stephanie and Joanna are the culprits. They stole the diamonds to help fund a movie. Stephanie blackmailed Rachel into performing the actual theft, figuring she could use Rachel as a scapegoat if they were ever caught. Morgan's in on the plan. He's the one who tried to kill Nancy at the rocks. Nancy should go straight to the police, but she really wants to check her theory about diamonds hidden in ice cubes. She is proud of that idea. So she goes to Joanna's house and tries to sneak inside, even though she can clearly see the culprits are already there. The culprits capture Nancy, steal the diamonds, and they knock Nancy out on the same stairs that killed Joanna. That was a chilling touch. Nancy wakes up on a rock in the ocean. She's so far into the ocean that the shore is not visible. I looked this up. It means the culprits took her at least 3 miles away. I can't believe the culprits swam with Nancy's unconscious body for over 3 miles, just to leave her on a rock. How did they even know the rock was there? Instead of drowning Nancy, the tides wake her up. She swims with the waves back to the shore, then contacts the police. Marcia gives Nancy and her friends charm bracelets as a thank you, because who doesn't want the same fashion accessory as the murderer? As for Bess, she officially decides to break up with Ted and move back home. The end. Post-book follow-up. Did anyone seriously believe Bess was going to move away forever? Ted is so objectively bad that there was no chance anyone would pick him over an awesome adventure life with Nancy. Besides, Bess is clearly the favorite sidekick of this series. Bess was in all of the last 6 books. George was only in 1 of the last 6 books. If anything, George should be the one with the serious out-of-state boyfriend. It would explain her long absences. Morgan's on the official suspect list, but Rachel the thief and Stephanie the murderer are not. I say this counts as another book where the culprit isn't on the suspect list. I found this book enjoyable, but the final third was not believable. The big clue that solves the mystery is a movie that should have been mentioned much earlier. Instead of killing Nancy immediately, the culprits swim her 3 miles away to an easily escaped death trap. What were they thinking? Overall, I like the book. The plot is more complex than normal, since there are 4 people involved in the diamond theft. Len and Marcia could have been more developed, and the Ted romance was an obvious fake-out. I give Nancy Drew Files number 83, Diamond Deceit, a 7 out of 10.